Ladies and gentlemen, something absolutely insane has happened. For the first time in Gacha game history, one of these games has literally changed my life. Or well, I should say it will change my life when it comes out. Duet Night Abyss, the anime warframe of Gacha, has announced that they will completely remove any Gacha elements from the game. Yes folks, you heard that right. All characters and weapons are free to earn by playing the game. An absolutely glorious change that I'm highly excited for, and one that once again proves what I've been saying for a while now, right? I've always been saying that due to all of these new gacha games flooding the market and competing for the same limited pool of players, they will have to offer much more value to their player base because frankly, players do not have infinite amounts of time and money. Many players already have a daily rotation of gachas that they're invested in and are very unlikely to give up unless given enough incentive. So what exactly would prompt players to give up? Well, removing all of these FOMO mechanics that stress players out day in and day out. Mechanics like the characters and weapon banners, stamina systems, and randomized gear grinds that forcefully time gate you and waste your time. And wouldn't you know it, that's exactly what the developers of Duet Night Abyss have done. Character banners, completely gone. Every character in the game can be earned by playing the game. Weapon banners, non-existent. Every single weapon is now craftable with materials and resources you can farm in the game. Stamina systems, obliterated. All missions are available at any time, ready to be played whenever you decide to play them. This could be absolutely huge for the gacha game industry because if this game does well, then that could shift the entirety of the gacha landscape towards removing all of these predatory FOMO mechanics. Let me go through the list of changes and then I'll tell you why all of them mean so much to the future of gacha gaming. Trust me, these changes can have far-reaching consequences that some might not necessarily realize. So how will DNA work? Well, you start the game, go through the story, and once you're done, you've reached the daily grind stage. Here, you'll be able to complete daily and weekly commissions that will earn you character shards. Character shards can be earned at any point in time, and once you have enough of them, you can unlock the character you've been farming for. If by any chance you want to skip farming entirely, then the option of purchasing the shards you require through the in-game shop is at your disposal. To help with farming, DNA will also provide the option to summon AI combat companions that will run around with you in a mission and help you complete objectives. Of course, nothing is stopping you from going at it solo, but the option's there if you want it. If instead of AI companions you'd like actual players, then rejoice because the devs announced that co-op is available pretty much everywhere. I would gamble and say that the story might be the only place where co-op isn't allowed, but hey, I could be wrong about that. And unlike games like Genshin or Wuthering Waves, multiplayer here will actually matter. Multiplayer in the two titles I've mentioned earlier are limited at best, with very little interaction allowed between players and with content offerings that are relegated to either the same dungeons that let you farm materials or glorified minigames. In Duet Night Abyss, you will end up playing entire missions with your friends. These are not just one and done deals either. Completing a mission will send you to an intermission screen, much like in Warframe, that shows you the rewards you've currently earned. There, you and your teammates can vote to continue the mission, which will have you fighting another wave of stronger enemies for the promise of more and rarer loot. I'm not sure how many times you can do this or if there even is a limit at all, but this will definitely put your skills and teamwork to the test. And as I mentioned before, the stamina system is gone, so you can play these missions whenever you want without any limit. Now, obviously, this game is still a business at the end of the day, so there needs to be a monetization system that will let the devs make a profit, and the direction they've decided to go down is by selling cosmetics. For those of you who don't know, that's the exact same monetization system that Digital Extremes implemented in Warframe, and Warframe is one of the most positively viewed freemium live service games on the market. There is so much goodwill and appreciation from the community that they think nothing about dropping money on the game to support the devs. Following this same path, DNA is already primed to achieve the same result by focusing on selling skins to the players, some of which have been already teased in the livestream. There is still the question of whether the developers over at Pan Studio will implement player trading just like Digital Extremes has, but we'll see how things play out once the game launches. Besides changes to the game's systems, character models have also received an update, making them pop out that much more compared to their previous iteration. The same can be said for the world of DNA, as many environments have been spruced up to look like they're actually lived in. One thing that caught me off guard is the announcement that the main characters are actually playable now. I had no idea that this wasn't the default. Just goes to show that I'm already used to these games following a specific pattern. But hey, that's perfectly fine by me. With the changes brought by the dev team so far, the more characters, the better, because that means we'll get to play all of them. Now, before the live stream, dungeons had a time limit. No, not the kind of time limit that told you to complete an objective under a certain amount of time. This was a time limit that required you to survive for 3 minutes on a mission to achieve your goal. It didn't matter if you were able to complete the required objectives faster than 3 minutes, you'd still be forced to sit in that mission until the time was up. That time limit is now gone. Any dungeon you go into, the faster you are at completing the objectives, the faster you can get out with your much coveted rewards. They've even implemented some nice quality of life changes to controls. Bullet jumping or helix jumping can now be triggered with a single button press, a change that I'm appreciating more and more as I grow older because the finger numbness is getting real in some cases. In my Gamescom video, I remarked upon the fact that movement felt rather slow when I tried the demo out at their booth. That's why I'm extremely glad to see that they've added a sprint mechanic to the game to increase the pacing. This will definitely make the game feel that much better to play as an acrobatic third-person shooter. And to further enhance movement, mini grapple points were also added throughout the environment, letting you get to where you want to go that much faster. I'm also happy to hear that overall story performance has been improved by adding full lip syncing to in-game scenes and improving static scenes with more detailed expressions and better camera angles. And while I might not be the one to play on the mobile phone, I do end up using it whenever I'm away from home. Like how I went to Gamescom and completely abused my phones to do my dailies while I was waiting in queue. So of course, hearing that the devs behind DNA decided to improve the game's performance on mobile devices is a welcome addition. Alright, that's the info from the livestream done, but let's actually talk about what this means for the game and for you as a player. All of these changes have the immediate effect of providing you, the player, with a much more satisfying experience than any gacha game on the market, simply due to the fact that you can play whenever you want for however long you want without feeling rushed or like you've missed out on something because you didn't use your stamina for that day. This freedom from any sort of FOMO mechanics will allow you to actually play the game on your own terms, and my god, I can't believe I'm saying this, it will even allow you to put the game down for a bit if you feel like taking a break. The removal of gacha from the game will also have an impact on future characters coming out. We already know that stars mean nothing now that all characters can be earned simply by playing the game. This means that all characters can and will be viable in one way or another. No longer will you feel bad for playing a 4-star character that you really like because they are inefficient. All characters are now on a level playing field and their stats will reflect that. This will also give you a long-term goal to strive for. Back when Genshin Impact launched, I wanted to collect and build every character, but I soon realized that the gacha model wouldn't allow me to do that unless I spent ungodly amounts of money. So I've learned to adapt and prioritize using materials only for characters that will help my account. But in Duet Night Abyss, I can finally go back to collecting every character and maxing them out because I can and will play with every single one of them, and the only deciding factor on how and when I'm going to do that will be my mood and my whims at that point in time, and not some gacha system. This will also impact future character design. Normally, gacha game developers can't go too wild with character kits due to the fact that they all need to feed into the gacha monetization model. As such, they also need to be aware of power creep much more than other games. But now that all characters are easily accessible, devs can focus more on being creative and design unique character kits that will focus more on being fun than on dealing higher amounts of damage than previous characters. As of the time of writing, I am unaware of the existence of an endgame mode similar to what you would find in the Big Four. Hopefully it stays this way, as time attack endgame modes are very restrictive for character design, where the main concern is making sure the characters are balanced around dealing enough damage in a certain amount of time instead of offering other interesting mechanics. And this will also allow players to feel like it isn't a waste of time and resources to invest into characters who serve a role other than your high damage dealer. Of course, all of these aspects can be further modified to be tailored to your preferred playstyle with demon wedges, which, depending on how far their modifications go, can have a staggering impact on how a certain character plays. Now, I am very happy to see Duet Night Abyss implement all of these changes because they are all player-friendly changes. And make no mistake, going down this route is an important milestone in gacha game history. I will, however, mention that this is a huge risk that Pan Studio is taking. While I will gladly accept the changes they made, I also need to point out that not implementing predatory FOMO mechanics will impact their earnings. I do not expect Duet Night Abyss to be making as much money as any of the Big Four, because those titles rely on gambling to make their profits. It also bears mentioning that these changes were not implemented out of the kindness of the developers' hearts. This is a natural response to seeing the overall dwindling interest in newer gacha games, as players already have their hands full with the gachas they're already playing and can't dedicate their time, energy, and money to yet another new title. If you need any proof of this, you can simply visit the homepage of Duet Night Abyss and check their pre-register section. Normally, pre-registration goals would have been long since completed, but we're 2 months away from the game's launch, launch and we've barely managed to complete half of the available objectives. We would need an extra 10 million players to register if we wanted to get all of the rewards. Now, the rewards themselves don't matter. It's the initial expectations of the developers that matter. They anticipated that 15 million players on launch day would have been an achievable goal, and yet we only have a third of that. This just goes to show that they cannot afford to go toe-to-toe with other already established titles in the market and needed to perform a severe course correction if they wanted their game to survive. You could argue that DNA is no longer a gacha game due to the fact that they've removed the gacha systems, but it's exactly this unique position of a game that was originally designed to be a gacha game but decided to stop being that, which makes DNA's existence all the more significant. If this game ends up being successful, it sends out the message to all developers that we don't want these limitations to be present in the games we enjoy. They are nothing but barriers and impediments that ruin the experience for everyone. There is nobody in this world who actually thinks gacha systems improve the player experience in any way. If they do, they're either struggling with Stockholm Syndrome or may have a gambling issue that they need to take a look at. The fact that gacha games are so popular right now isn't thanks to these gacha systems' existence. Their popularity exists in spite of it. It exists because players genuinely enjoy the game that they are playing. I will concede that gacha systems are very effective at draining players of their money, which is why we've seen such staggering monthly profits, but that comes at the cost of giving the player a worse experience overall. Because guess what? There are many gacha games coming out in the future that look appealing to me and that I want to try out, but having to manage that many gachas that all want my time and money is simply not feasible. While reading comments online where gacha tribalism was involved, I always saw the argument that instead of bashing the other game, you should be playing both instead. Why would you complain about the existence of another game that you can play? It's like having two cakes. I always thought that this argument was short-sighted. Yes, you could argue that you have two cakes, but with how many gachas have come out so far, those two cakes have turned into 10. Now imagine yourself eating 10 cakes day after day for years. Let's ignore the severe health issues that would cause, because by that point you'd definitely find yourself in a hospital bed, if not outright dead. You would also get sick of eating that much cake. You wouldn't want to see another cake for the rest of your life. Not to mention playing so many different gachas that all require your daily attention will take up more time than you're willing to give. This is why Duet Night Abyss can actually change everything. Its success can shift the gacha landscape going forward. That's why I hope this game ends up being a hit. You know that saying about voting with your wallet? Well, the time to do that is now. If you're sick of the predatory practices of gacha games, if you're sick of character banners, weapon banners, 50/50s, systems that are designed to waste your time and force you to pay so you can play more, then download and play Duet Night Abyss. Support developers that are actually implementing the changes you want in a game so that other developers follow suit. I will be there on day one when DNA launches. I'll be playing the game, enjoying everything it has to offer, and making content on it for my channel. If you agree with any of the points I've made so far, I highly encourage you to try out Duet Night Abyss. And if you don't agree with anything I've said, you owe it to yourself to try the game out, if only to prove to yourself how wrong I am. But that's going to be it for me. Let me know your thoughts on all of these changes in the comment section down below. What do you think of the removal of the gacha and stamina systems? Are you excited to be able to play with all of these characters on your own terms and without any limits? Or maybe Duet Night Abyss is just not a game you're interested in? I look forward to reading your thoughts, and if you've enjoyed my content, please leave a like and a sub to help me out with the algorithm. I always appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, have a good one.